Joining us now is Michael Cohen. He is the former personal attorney and fixer for former President Trump. He is now the host of the Mea Culpa podcast. Michael, great to see you. So
thanks, same to see you, Allison.
Let's start there with what Ryan was just reporting, and that's what we heard this morning from Alyssa Farah Griffith. She was the communications director in the White House, and she said that Team Trump has been providing and supplying lawyers for the staffers who are testifying in front of the January 6th committee, including Cassidy Hutchinson, before she changed to her own lawyer. As President Trump's former personal attorney, what do you think of that practice?
Yeah, so this is part and parcel for the Donald Trump game plan. What you do is you pay for the lawyers. That way, the lawyers really aren't dedicated to the client. They're dedicated to the guy who's paying the bill, which, of course, is Team Trump. The reason that they're doing that is to keep you on message. And the second that you deviate from the message that Donald wants, you get cut off, something that he did to me as well. I'm very proud of her for realizing exactly what was going on here and making the decision to move away from the Trump paid for counsel and move to her own, an attorney that will now have her best interest at hand.
Yeah. One of the things that she testified to was the things that she saw and heard, including former President Trump's outbursts. So let me play a portion of that for you.
Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel. And when Mr. Renato had recounted this story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles. There were several times throughout my tenure with the Chief of Staff that I was aware of him either throwing dishes or flipping the tablecloth.
Does that sound like Donald Trump to you?
Okay, look, I've never seen Donald take a burger and ketchup and throw it against the wall. I have seen him get incredibly angry. I've seen him throw things, newspapers. I've seen him throw a magazine, some paper, but I've never seen him throw ketchup. Is it possible? Sure. But one of the problems is, look, everybody who saw those January 6th hearings will say the same thing. This was a great, this was just a great fly on the wall presentation. I mean, it's like going to see Top Gun Maverick. You just walk out and you felt really good that finally something was going to happen. This was now going to be the impetus for Merrick Garland in order to do something via the DOJ. The problem with the testimony is that it's all hearsay as it relates to Donald Trump, not to the other people.
Not exactly.
One
of the things that she was said. I mean, some of the things she actually heard. She was actually in the room for some of them.
Yeah, it's still hearsay. It's out of court statements offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted therein. That's the definition of hearsay. Donald will say, I have no idea what you're talking about. I never told any one of these people to do it. In fact, show me, if you think I did say it, show me one piece of paper that I hand wrote. Show me an email. Show me a text message. Show me a voicemail. Donald Trump learned from the best, and I'm referring to Roy Cohn, which is have no fingerprints on anything. And that's what he did. But all of these acolytes that were around him, each and every one of them now are in serious jeopardy.
But you know, Michael, about that testimony where she said that one of the Secret Service, basically she heard the story about the Secret Service, about Donald Trump lunging for the wheel of the beast, as they call the presidential limo, and for the clavicles of the Secret Service. Does that sound like, I mean, that's now being disputed, that account by the Secret Service. So does that sound like the Donald Trump you know?
Yeah, so look, I've never seen or even heard that Donald Trump has ever actually been in a physical altercation. And I'm not talking about as an adult, even as a kid. So the fact that he went to you could rest assured that while this was going on, if he really wanted to go to the Capitol, he would be this irate. There's no doubt about that. Does that mean that he would lunge at a Secret Service agent? He would go to grab the steering wheel? I'm not sure. But what that is, that's double hearsay. She heard it from somebody else who had heard it. Again, that's not going to be the nail in the coffin that we are all looking for in order to see Donald walk with his hands right behind his back and his cotton candy flopping in the wind. That's not what you're going to see. But again, the bad part about that testimony is what it does is it gives Donald, and again, I know the playbook better than anyone because I was involved in writing it. They're going to use that testimony, especially if it's disproven, to attempt to disprove every single statement that Cassidy made. And that's a shame, but they will use that as a means to discredit her.
One of the things that we heard during that testimony, during that hearing, I should say, is Congresswoman Liz Cheney talking about the intimidation that some witnesses have been subjected to. She said things that basically they get phone calls that say things like, as long as I continue to be a team player, they know I'm on the right team, I'm doing the right thing, and I would want to stay in the good graces of Trump world. And they were reminded witnesses a couple of times that Trump does read transcripts. I feel like you might know a thing or two about those tactics.
Yeah, first and foremost, let me say he does not read the transcripts. He has somebody read it and then give him the bullet points to it. But I received the identical type of communications. Those were by Bob Costello directly after the raid on my home, hotel, law office, and safety deposit box, where they would say, our friend loves you, stay loyal, stay the course, he's got your back, you are absolutely regarded. And these are all plays that he had learned early on in his life from people like Roy Cohn. It is a mob style scenario where you want to make sure that these folks stay in your orbit. And if in fact that you step out of the orbit, understand that there are people there that are going to potentially do some pretty bad things to you. Now, what Donald will say is, I don't know who these people are that they're doing. I didn't tell anybody to do it. And while that may be true, he also didn't individually tell anyone to specifically raid the Capitol, but he said it in a way that people take it as that. And you have a lot of people out there. Look, I received more hate mail, more hate emails, phone calls, and so on than you could possibly imagine. Some of the most vile things that you could say to another human being, from my religion to my children, to my life, to my wife's, to my family. They are just vile things that are said by people who think that they're doing some type of a service to Donald, when in fact, it's her life, it's my life, it's anybody's life who steps forward and talks truth to power. You put yourself into that spot. And a lot of the actions that came at me, I'm sorry to say, I'm sure she's going to experience the same. And he wants it that way.